This is a sheet that I made. It's on the Study Union website, ucfstudyunion.wordpress.com, under James, which is me. Your test is a little bit different than this. You don't have a true-false section, but you are going to have multiple choice. You got to bring a Scantron number 2 pencil, blue or black ink for the open-ended questions.
She said something about the note card.
Yeah. In the announcement, there was a little. I don't know. I would bring a note card just in case.
Yeah.
In the announcements, it did say a 5x7 note card.
5x3. Or 3x5 actually.
I think it was just whatever, a default note card, index card that you can bring. I don't think it says anything's off limits to writing in. I think it says you can put whatever notes you want.
Yeah.
So front and back, I would fill that out with anything you're confused with or don't get, and just bring it to it. Someone probably should ask her right before the final, hey, I saw the announcement, can we use this? And she'll probably say yes. I assume it was for the right class.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. The first one, variables need to be declared before they are used. Anyone do that one? What's the answer to that one? True? Correct. You must declare the variable before it is used. You can't declare a variable in a for loop. So when you're using I or something like that, it can't be for int I. It has to be I declared before that for loop. Okay. Int number of students equals 0 with a semicolon is a valid declaration of a variable. Is that true or false? False? Why do you think so? No, you're actually fine with that. As long as it's a character here, you're good. This one, it has the data type, its data type, the name, and then it could just go down to its data type, then the name of the variable. Then you can either, these are both optional, you could set it equal and initialize it to any number or letter. Yeah, that one is true. Number, letter, and then you got to add the semicolon. So that one's true. You're allowed to switch case once you start off and stuff like that. So that one is true. The next one is char 2 else semicolon is a valid declaration of a variable.
That's false.
That's false. Do you know why it's false?
Yeah, because it starts, the name of the variable starts with a number.
Yeah, and it can only start with an underscore or a letter. So that one is false. Okay. The next one is the else clause is required for every if.
It's false.
False?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's false?
Because you can have multiple if statements that are not exclusive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the else only comes when 2 if statements are exclusive.
Yep. When you want to like pick and choose between 2 options, that's when you'd use the else. If you just have one option that you want to test for, you can just use the if. Okay. The default in a switch statement is required every time. Is that true or false? Breaks are required, yes. They're not really required, I would say, breaks actually, but your code will not compile correctly if you don't have a break. The default is not. It's just there to save you. So say you have a switch statement, there's one in the later on in this sheet. I'll probably use a switch statement. I usually always do because it's there to save you. If you don't have a case that matches up, it'll automatically go to the default and do whatever your default tells it to do. So say you have a switch statement that's getting grades and somebody enters a grade H. That's not a valid grade. Your default would say, have like a printf that says, hey, you put in the wrong grade, try it again, or something like that. So this one is false. It's not required, but it definitely does help. A while loop is a post-test loop. Is that true or false?
True.
Why do you think it's true?
Because first test the condition, and if it's true, then it does whatever the loop tells it to do.
Okay. You said it right,
Yeah.
but you thought of it wrong.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a pretest?
Just because like I'll check before and then it'll go in if it's
Mm-hmm.
true or false.
It checks the evaluation of it before, then it actually does it.
Confused. The post test is the do while, right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
This one is false. Okay, number 7, an alternative approach to an if-else statement would be a switch statement. Why is it true?
We don't have to use F-else, we just put the case.
Yeah, because they're all mutually exclusive. You could just use a switch and just use your cases and go through. Yep. Okay. This is some stuff we learned recently. The star dereferences a pointer. Is that true or is that false? True. Do you know the other one that references, gives a reference? Yep, the ampersand sign. Okay.
What does it mean, like, the dereferences it?
So pointer just holds a memory address. So when you dereference it, you go inside that memory address and get the number. So if it's a pointer to another number, if it's a pointer to another variable, if you want to get the value in that variable, you got to dereference it. If a function does not return a value, its return type is void. True or false?
Yeah.
You use fprintf to read from a file. True or false? False. What would you use to read from a file? Okay, this next one's just a simple data chart of our printing format placeholders. Basically what you would use in printf or scanf when you want to get that variable. So what's the one for char? Yep. Double. What'd you say? LF, yeah. Double's a little weird. It's just not just copy of double, the first letter, because integer already has that, right? So everyone knows integer is D, right? Which one? What's float? And then string. So they're all pretty much first letter of the type, except double and int are kind of flipped. So just think of double is double of float, so it's long float. And then int we use a lot, so you should probably know that it's %d by now. Okay, then we're going to calculate the modulus. Can anyone explain to me what the modulus is? It's
within the remainder.
Yep.
The remainder of whatever.
Two of you guys said it. It's just getting the remainder of the division. So 20 divided by 5 would be 0 because it would be 4, remainder 0. 64 remainder mod 7, what would that be? Yeah, because then you do, how many times does 7 go into 64? 63, there's 1 over, so it would be 1. Does anyone know 12.3 mod 4?
Would it be 0.3 or 0?
It'd actually be an error. You can't do modulus for, this is us kind of like plainly putting in 12.3. Like if you did some other stuff and like it would round up to 12, like integer division or something like that. But just doing it like this, it would give you an error because you need whole numbers to do division to get the remainder. So this would be error. Okay. This one is, what is the value of the following arithmetic expression? We have a plus 2 times 5 minus 36 in parentheses divided by 3 plus 3. Let's see, let's work it out. So we got 8 plus 2 times 5 minus 36 plus 3 plus 3. Okay. 3 plus 3 is in parentheses, so you're going to want to do that first, right? So then it's going to, what I do is just write everything again on the same line, because once you hit the end of it, you're going to want to just kind of reset and start it back at the front of the expression. So then we got 8 plus 2 times 5, which that one is greater. We also have a division sign here. They're equal, so you're just going to do them at the same time. Just do them in order as you see it when you read it left from right. So you got 2 times 5, that's going to be 10, minus 36 divided by 6, which would be 6. So then we got 8 plus 10 minus 6, which would be 18 minus 6, which would equal 12. So you are correct. Does everyone get that? Basically the same thing you kind of learned in algebra. I think modulus is on the same level or higher. I think it's higher than division and multiplication.
So if you have a modulus, you do that first.
Yeah.
What if you have a modulus and a parenthesis with this, like an addition in the parentheses?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do the parentheses first always.
Okay.
The next question, which scanf is correct? We got float number 1, then we have scanf d, ampersand number 1, we got scanf ampersand number 1 of f, scanf f of ampersand number 1, no semicolon, scanf f number 1, semicolon. Which one is it? Correct. Why isn't it C?
Because it doesn't have the semicolon at the end.
Yep. And then D because it doesn't have the ampersand, right? Okay. So on this one, I'm just evaluating true-false expressions, like if they're an if statement. We got x equals 1, y equals 7, and z equals 6. So the first one, if x is greater than y and y is greater than z, what does it equate to, true or false? Okay, let's work it out. The way I work it out, you can plug the numbers right in and write it again. So we have x equals 1 is greater than y, which is 7, and 7 is greater than 6. So we got 1 is greater than 7, which is false, right? And 7 is greater than 6 is true. False and true equates to false because both for true, and they both have to be true. If you're confused with that, you can look at the tables. I'm not sure what lecture that is in, but quickly write down so we can see. So the and table is false, false equates to false, false, true, false, true, false equals false, and then true, true equals true. And then the or is false, 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 true, true, false, true, true. The or is if any of them are true, that equates the whole thing to true. So we can do the next one. If x is less than y and z is greater than y, is it true or false? This one is false. Okay, let's work through it. We got 1 is less than 7, and z is greater than y. That is 6 is greater than 7. This one is true, but this one is false, making the whole thing false. Okay, next one we got x is less than or equal to z, or y is equal to z. Yep, perfect. So with or statements or and statements, if you equate the first one for an and it's false, the whole thing's going to be false. That's a quick way, when you're taking your test, if you're pressed for time, you see the first one's false, you don't got to follow anymore. It's going to be false for an and statement. In an or, if you're pressed for time, if the first one is true, it's automatically going to be true, because if any of them are true, the whole thing is true. So that one would be 1 is less than or equal to 6, or that's true, so the whole thing is true. The next one, x is greater than z, or y does not equal z. So that would equate to true, right? Because that one would be x is 1 greater than 6, or 7 does not equal 6. So this one, 1 is not greater, be false, or 7 does not equal 6, which is true. So then the whole thing will be true. The next one we got x is equal to z, not x equal to z. What would be the answer to that one?
Will the not statement make it true? Even though it's false, according to these parentheses?
That's correct. The not statement will flip it. So we got x is equal to z, so that would be checking if 1 is equal to 6, which is false, but the not statement will flip it to true. So this one would be true, right? Okay, next part of the sheet is random numbers. This is just like one of them ones in your lectures. Just write me the rand that generates those ranges. So anyone know how to generate the range from 1 to 7 using rand?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think it's rand parentheses 6 close parentheses plus 1.
Correct. Okay. So rand mod 6 would give you what ranges?
0 to 6.
Wait, so it's
No.
percent sign instead of
No, it'd be 0 to 5.
Yeah. So this 0 to 5, 0 to 6, rand 6 would give you 0 to 5. And then plus 1 would only give you what? 1 to 6, right? So what would you do to change that to make it correct? You do. That's correct. What would you change this? So this one's wrong, right? Because it only give you, the rand would give you 0 to 5, and then the mod 6 would give you 1 to 6 because you plus 1. I'm sorry about that. The rand mod 6 would give you 0 to 5, plus 1 would give you 1 to 6. We want 1 to 7. How would you switch that so it would work? What'd you say? I'm sorry?
Rand 7.
Yep. So the reasoning for that, rand 7 would give you 0 to 6, and then plus 1 to both sides. With this plus 1 will give you 1 to 7, right? So an easy way to do this is count on your fingers. So let's do the next one, 5 to 10, right? So we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You need 6 numbers, right? What would give you 6 numbers in a rand?
What will give you 6 numbers in a range?
Like a 6-number range in rand code.
6.
Rand 6. So basically, if you want any range, as long as you have the correct number, like if you count on your fingers and just know how much is in between, that number is going to be what you're going to mod by.
So it starts from 1 to 6 or from 0 to 6?
When you mod anything, it's from 0 to 1 less than that number, because modding is getting the remainder, right? So if you mod by 6, it tries to evaluate the remainder if you divide it by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is a multiple of 6, right? So that's going to give you a mod of 0, yeah. So whenever you do that, the ranges are always going to start from 0 to whatever, and it's always going to be 1 less than your number. So this one was rand mod 6, so that's going to give you 0 to 5, and then plus 5, someone said it, will give you plus 5 on both sides, so that will give you 5 to 10, right? Okay, the next one.
Is it rand mod 10?
Yep. And then the last one, 7 to 14. What would you do for that?
15 plus 7.
Rand mod 15 plus 7?
I did rand mod 8 plus 7.
Okay, let's test that out. Rand mod 8, which would give you 0 to 7, right? Because anything that's a multiple of 8 will go to 0. So usually every rand, whatever you mod it by, is going to be 0 to 1 less than that number. So 0 to 7, and then we want 7 to 14. So we could add that plus 7. And then if you think about it, you're just adding 7 to both sides kind of to up your range. So it would be 7 to 14. Okay. Next question. How many times will practice print? We got int value equals 8, while value is less than 12, print practice. Why do you think that?
Because there's no increasing for the value.
Perfect.
Who's that on
It will forever print. Like he said, infinite is the correct answer because we got int value 8, right? So value is 8, so it's basically saying if 8 is less than 12, print out practice. But it never changes that 8. So practice is just going to keep continuing because it's always going to be 8 is always going to be less than 12, right? So that's infinite. That would be an error in your code if you're trying to do your homework or something like that.
You'd have to do like,
You'd have to say,
practice plus plus or
yeah, value plus plus or something like that.
add some number.
Mhm. Okay. So this is just seeing how well you can construct an if statement from a statement. We got construct an if statement. We're going to use the variables save, deposit, and monthly payment. We're going to construct an if statement for buying a car if the required deposit can be covered by your savings and the monthly payment is not more than $150. How would you guys start that?
If
Mm-hmm.
deposit is greater than, sorry, if savings is greater than deposit,
Yep, perfect.
then do and
Okay.
payment is less than 150.
Does everyone agree with him?
What about shouldn't like they all be in if statement? Or it doesn't matter?
They're all going to be in the if statement. It's going to be one. I'm just closing it. Do you agree with what he said? He said monthly payments. What'd you say?
If savings is greater than deposit
Mm-hmm.
and monthly payments is less than 150.
Does everyone agree with that?
Less or equal to.
Yep. Perfect. He got it. So it has to be not more than 150. It can be 150, but not more than that. So you're going to have the equal sign. And then you're just going to close off your braces. So that would be all one, right? You see that now? Okay. This one, I did not notice it went to the other page, but that's fine. So it says construct an if statement for buying a car if the deposit is equal to 1,000 or if the monthly payment is less than half your savings.
James, can you scroll up for a second? I just want to see something in the previous question. I want to see what the syntax is, the syntax that you use. So you have a double parenthesis basically.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Those is because you want to do those separately. I'm pretty sure you don't need them. I'm just kind of a defensive person.
It's
Like
not
that's going to
wrong
be,
if you do it, right?
yeah, it's not wrong if you don't. I'm just very defensive with it
Yeah.
and want to make sure nothing happens. But I think it should be right
Okay.
because of the and sign. So just equate that and equate that. Okay. Next part of it, construct an if statement for buying a car if the deposit is equal to 1,000 or if the monthly payment is less than half your savings.
So if
Mm-hmm.
deposit equals 1,000,
Mm-hmm.
then the or lines.
Yep. The two straight lines, and then
Payment is less than savings over 2. Oh, monthly payment. Yeah.
oh, payment. Monthly payment is less than half your savings. Yep. So any questions with that at all? It's fine to do that because the division, all the arithmetic signs have a higher precedence of the less than sign, so you don't need any parentheses or anything over here. So this will do, it'll just like kind of hop the savings, do that, and then figure out what the true false value of that is. Okay. Mm-hmm.
In the last one, we put the conditions in separate parentheses.
Yeah, that was what I was saying. That's just me being defensive. You don't. It's not required because it'll do that first part and then do the second part. This one, because of the precedence of everything, the arithmetic is before the less than, like the and sign and or sign. So it would do that and then find out whether it's true or false. So you're fine with like the savings divided by 2 will happen first. You get that? Okay. Next one is write a switch statement that determines a student's favorite class. It takes an integer, 1 to 3, 1 being gym, 2 being math, 3 being programming. Print out a short sentence stating which choice they made is their favorite class. How would you start that? Assume all variables are there. This is just to try to get the way of you writing switch down.
Don't remember exactly that, but I know each one has like implying case 1, case 2, case 3, one of them.
What'd you say? Yeah.
I know exactly the exact format, syntax, so I
Mhm.
can involve like case 1, case 2, case 3, and then writing out like the condition.
Do you remember how to start it?
I don't remember how to start this thing. I'll have to
Okay.
look exactly.
So we start it with just switch, and then you have your variable. Say if you just want to make it like a choice picker, you just use your variable. We can assume that like in favorite is a variable, and it was already scanned for and everything. So we're just going to go to the switch. So switch, we're going to put favorite in here. Then we're going to open up our brackets. So then, what'd you say, right? Case. And then these are for numbers, 1, 2, 3. What would you put after the case?
Gym. What do we, no, it's
Yeah, it would be 1. Jim was just me kind of making up a story behind it. So then 1, colon, then we got printf. Jim is the favorite, right? Something like that. And then what do you put after you're done with a case? You guys remember?
After the.
So
Do
that's,
you need a semicolon there?
which one, that one? It's a little blurry up here, but it's over there.
Case 2, I guess. Print
Would you just do this?
I think so. Not really sure.
Printf. And then
Yeah.
2 is math.
Not gym, but math is the favorite.
Does everyone agree with that? Are you missing anything? So we're missing a break statement. If we don't have a break statement, it'll assume, it'll just go to the next one and go case 2. So when you get case 1, it'll also just do case 2.
Okay, yeah, the break after it.
So break breaks out of it and ends this switch, so that when you only get 1, it'll just do 1.
Do you need the semicolon after break as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Um,
So then you need that after every case.
the case 1 and case 2 and case 3.
Mm-hmm.
Is it always like, are the cases always numbered or can they be like letters?
They can be letters.
Case 2,
A lot of times you'll see, like grading ABC, they'll do letters, because that's a bunch of if else's. So they just kind of compress it into a switch. If you don't do numbers and you do letters, you got to have a single quotations around them to say, hey, it's a character. Because what are letters truly in C? Yeah, they're the ASCII value numbers. So if you don't put those single brackets, it's going to think you have case 92 or something, and then whatever
Oh, you
quits.
mean when we use like a letter.
Yeah, so when you use the letter, say we had a letter right here, right? You'd have to do this,
Okay.
and with the single quote, so it knows, hey, A is that case.
But if it's a number, it's just like that.
Yeah, if it's a number, there's no single quotes. The single quotes makes it that it's a character.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next case would be case 3, right? And that one would be programming. And then is there anything else we have to add? Is there anything else required to add? Those were the 3 cases that were in the thing, 1 being gym, 2 being math, 3 being programming. The what? You don't need a return statement. It will just continue after this. It's just like an if statement. It'll just follow the statements after that. Is there anything? What did you say?
Dot statement. Short sentence that our students voted
This is not that in depth, so this is just a thing. There's nothing else that's required, but you can do a default. So if someone types in 4, it's not going to go to any of those cases. If you don't have a default, it'll just kind of go weird on you. There's no telling what it will do. If you have a default, it'll go hit that default, and then you can put a printf that says, hey, entered the wrong number.
Oh, okay, so do we always need a default?
You do not, but it is very helpful.
Okay.
And then that needs a break as well.
Okay.
And then your,
And you just write it like that, default, it's gonna know it's like a
yeah, it knows. It's a reserved word. It's a keyword. Does everyone get that? Any questions about switch statements?
Everything you wrote in there, the way you wrote it is like great, perfect syntax and everything.
Yeah. Trying to think. What else?
I mean, the printfs seem to be good to me, but the thing is like, I'm not really familiar with the switching cases.
Yeah, the cases, they have the case. Just remember your single quotes if there's a letter. On your test, I would use whatever's more comfortable, right? Switch is the same thing as an if-else statement. If you're comfortable with those, use those. I know she slightly touched on it. I just want to make sure you know it in case there's a tracing problem.
Or like multiple choice.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, what is the output? We have I equals 4 and j equals 3. So usually how I start my programs, just write them down. I equals 4, j equals 3. While I is less than 0, while j is greater than 0, sorry. While j is greater than 0, print out a star. Then you're going to minus j times 1. So we're going to be in this loop right now. We're going to do one printf of the star minus j 1. So I'm just going to cross it out and then put it down 1. Then we're going to go back into the loop while j is greater than 0. 2 is greater than 0, so we're still good. We're going to print out again. Then decrement j1. It's going to be 1. While j is greater than 0, print out a star again. We would then decrement 1, get 0. While j is greater than 0, j is equal to 0. It is 0, so it will not go anymore, right? So then we're going to pop out of that loop, print a new line character. So that means we're going to start right here now. And then we have j set j equals to 3. So I would just cross out this 0, make it 3, and just kind of work on the same line. Then we have I minus minus, which would decrement I to 3 as well. And then what would we do after that?
Back to the wall.
Yep, it would start the while loop. These are nested loops, so it's going to do that whole loop, then do the next whole loop, and then as long as the inside is true, it's going to do the inside again. So we're going to go back up to this while I is greater than 0, which it was minus to 3. We're going to do that same while again, which was print out 3 stars, right?
Is it a 4 by 3 matrix again with stars?
A 4 by 3. 4 rows. Then we got this one, so then this one will be 2, right? New line on this one. 1, 2, 3. This one will be that one. 1, 2, 3. And then we got 1, 2, 3. Right? And then this would set j equal to 0, right? This is after this printf right here. So j would be equal to 3. So j would actually change to 3. I would be minus minus, so 1 minus 1, it would be 0. And then go back up to the while. If I is greater than 0, I is not greater than 0. So we're just going to skip this whole while loop because we're done with it and go to the return and we're done. But you got to remember, the j will change in the loop. So say if she has a question, what is j at the end of this? J would not stay at 0, it would go to 3 because it would say it's in the loop.
Syntax and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, James. Is this the first time that you're being the SI leader for this class?
This is my first semester doing the SI leader for this class. I took this class in spring
With her?
2016, not with her, but I got in the class, so I was able to
No.
become an SI leader, yeah. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next one. We got create a two-dimensional integer array with 5 rows and 3 columns and assign a random number 2 to 22 to each element of the array. So we got 5 rows and 3 columns. How we declare a integer array of those dimensions? Anybody? Yeah. First, just tell me how we're going to define a two-dimensional integer array with 5 rows and 3 columns, right? What'd you say? I'm sorry. Yeah, you can do that. That's a safe way to do it. And then all you have to write is how would you? So it'd be int, right? Because it's int array. Let's just call it table, right? Because basically what a 2D array is a table, so it's going to be 5 by 3, right?
Why can I just not do, like, define I and j, declare them, I guess, and then say for I equals 0, I less than 3? You know, like, instead of having the constants in there.
And
Can I just...
you can't declare an array with variables because it's just the computer has to know how much there has. In CS1, if you're a CS student, you will learn how to declare arrays with variable length and change them and make them longer. But in Intro to C, we want you just to learn how to declare an array that works. So like you're gonna know exactly how much you need, and then just define that, because you can't change it when it's running. Because say like somebody wants 3 and then oh no they changed it or they didn't put enough, that would give you an error and stuff like that. So she just gives you straight up what you need and you just define it. So this is the easiest way. Row columns. I did not write the numbers, right? 5, 3, and then right we got square brackets, which is going to be the first square bracket. Yep. So a weird way to think about it is they're not in ABC order. Row column or RC car, something like that. So we declared it, row column, so that's going to declare a 2D integer array of 5 rows and 3 columns. Then we want to assign a random number 2 to 12 and assign it to each element of the array. So we have not 2 to 12, 2 to 22. How would you make a rand statement to go from 2 to 22?
Say 2 plus rand 21.
Perfect. So rand 21 will give you a range of 0 to what? 0 to 20, correct. And then if you plus 2 to that, it would give you 2 to 22. So we're just going to basically use that rand and then assign it to each spot in that table. How do you traverse a 2D array? Yep. So a double for loop, I'm going to declare our 2 counter variables, just I and j. That's what most people use. It's just easy.
Would it matter if you put like the yes rand in here?
Yes, it would. So, because it.
Does you want that out, like, if you like ask if you want that different output every single time, or does it matter if you have like the same output every single time, even though it's still random?
If it was a question like this, these questions are made by me, I would put the srand, just in case. Because what does the srand do?
Every output.
It truly makes it random, right? Yeah. So I would just put it on your test just to make sure.
What is the header you have to put for that though? You have to put a header, right?
Yeah, for rand, there's also a header. Do you know? Yep, standard library. It's just what it's called. So this one would have And then, say if it was a whole program, you'd also need stdio, right?
Yeah.
Which is just,
Would you need time package?
I don't think so. Looking through the slides, I didn't see it. Do you remember how she did the SRAND? How does she set it up?
That's ran parentheses time parentheses 0.
Yeah. So that's how I saw it on her slides, and she did not have, like on her full program, she didn't have time.h, so I think you're good without it. That just uses the initial time as like the seeding number, because really SRAND is like some big, huge equation. So then we have all that. We have our I and j. So like we said before, 2 for loops. And where we want to start I at? And then what's going to be the condition in the for loop? Yep. And then I++, right? And then are we going to do our assigning our random right here? The for loop is going to be in that braces of that one, right? Because it's going to have multiple statements in it. So we're going to have 4. Then we're going to use our other one, j equals 0. Same kind of thing. J is less than columns. J++. And then this one is where we do everything. Our array is called table. What would you put in here? Do you guys agree with him? What would you put inside the brackets? I and j, because they're the controllers of the numbers. Row and column, that would just make it 5, 3, and then you would assign it over and over. And then an easy way to do this, if you do it this way, you know that, hey, the for loop says if it's less than row, so that means I is your rows. So basically, just like you're defining it, the first one, I is going to be your row counter to go through it, and j is going to be your column one. And then that one equals, we're just going to put that rand that we found before up here, rand mod 21 plus 2. And that will go through the whole loop and do it. And I think that is it. We're just going to close it. Everyone gets we're allowed to not put brackets for this table because it's just one sentence after that 4, so it's kind of stuck to that 4. You don't have to put brackets for the for loop with the table and all that, because it's just that one. It always connects to the one statement. I think that is it for that one.
Wait, why don't you need the second brackets?
Because it's only one statement. If it's multiple statements, that one you need the brackets, so it's all connected to that 4.
It's only like the 2 for loops, you kind of don't need the other ones too, right?
It's just easier to read for you, but you don't need the other ones because this one is automatically going to be hooked to this one, so it'll do everything, and that for loop, this whole for loop runs that whole other one. So like,
So technically, you don't need a bracket, like a curly bracket, when you're putting the statements in a for loop?
just one statement. Like if you have multiple, yeah. So this one would run, right? Say if we kind of trace this one. I would equal to 0. I is less than row. We have 5 rows. That's true. It would go into this. J is equal to 0, less than column. 0 is less than 3. It would do that 3 times, right? From 0 to, while moving this around. So what is it? So this is 0, the row, and the column. So it's going to fill it in from left to right and then start over. And you won't even need it. For reading stake, if you're like, if you, a person, I guess, who traces your code, right, like before you hand it in, you kind of look at your stuff. If you like trace it and make sure everything's right, if you have that much time, because you do get, I think it's 2 hours, something like that. So you will have more time than you usually do. I think the test will probably be a little bit longer because she has a multiple choice section this time. You can just put the brackets just for you, but you don't need it. Okay, the next one. This was just a code segment. If we were doing a full thing, yeah, I could return 0. Yeah, I would have int main. Only thing I'm missing is what? Int main and then return 0 pretty much. Okay. This is just seeing how well you could trace a for loop. Did anyone do this one yet? No? We'll do this one together, okay? So we got int I and sum is equal to 0. Since I is not assigned a value now, I'll just leave it blank. Right in the for loop, it says I is equal to 1, so just put the 1. Sum equals sum plus I. So sum plus I is 1 plus 0, so then sum would get changed to 1. It would print out the sum of the first, and then it's got a placeholder, and you look at the first variable, that's I is 1 from up there, so the first 1 numbers is, and then a placeholder, and that's sum, it would be 1, and then we'd go back, it's a for loop, so we go back up, increment I, so from 1 to 2, and then we'd have sum equals sum plus I, which is just basically doing this addition, 1 plus 2, which sum will get changed to 3. So the sum of the first 2 numbers, because the first placeholder is for I, is 3. Then back to the top of the for loop, increment it again. We get 3. And then it would be 3 plus 3, which would be 6. So then sum would be 6, right? So then this one would change to 4 because it would increment it. 4 plus 6, 10, perfect. When would we stop this?
At 7. When I is 7 and sum equals 28.
15. Would you print out a statement for 7?
Yes.
And then remember again, it does update it in this last one. It go from 7 to 8, and then it'll check and say it's false. And then you would be done. You would just return 0, right? Everyone get that? Any questions about for loops or anything? So it's just initialize. You only do that the first time. Check the condition, update. So it's check the condition, do the code, update. Check the condition, do the code, update. Okay. This one I changed a little bit. You want to change your while value is less than 7 to while value is less than or equal to 7. So we have num1 equals 2, value equals 4. And what's different about a do while loop than a while loop?
The do while does whatever it has to do first and then it evaluates.
Yep, it's a post-test loop. So we got 4. So the do while has the first part, num equals num times val. So that one is going to be 8. Value equals value plus 3, so 4 plus 3, that's going to be 7. Then it's going to check, just use this new one I did, I forgot to add an equal sign. While value is less than or equal to 7, which it is, you're going to continue the loop again. So we got num1 equals num1 times value. 8 times 7 equals 56, right? And that assigns to num1, and then value equals value plus 3, which would be 10.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
What is it that when you have like an equal asterisk, what is it that the operator does? Imagine it says
Which one?
num1.
Oh, when you have it like this, you have num1 like that.
Yeah, or the other way around, like the equal.
Okay, so anytime you see that, you could be plus equals, minus equals, divide equals. That just means this, num1 equals num1 times value. So that just means times what's currently in there, take what's currently in there, times the times value, and then assign it to that first one. So see how this is num1 times equals value?
I can't see what it says. Num1 equals, is it the same though?
Yeah, they're exactly the same. So this one says num1 times equals value, and then that one, it equates to num1 equals num1 times value. So it's just taking the first number that's in there. It's basically saying,
Is it saying the same
take that
thing
number,
you gave us?
do the multiplication, and then assign it to whichever one's on the left.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now we're getting into functions. We're going to write an integer returning function factorial. It takes a single positive integer n and returns n factorial. N factorial, 1 times 2 times 3, all the way up into what that n is. Does anyone know how to start a function? How we start? What did you say? I'm sorry?
The type.
Okay. What would be the return type? What?
We're returning an int.
So what would you write? What would be the first part? And then function factorial, so we're just going to name it factorial. And then is there any parameters, anything?
Yes.
And n is int n. Yep. And then that is the function header, right? If you had your functions at the end of the program before the main, what is there anything else you would have to add? Say if we were doing a full program, there's one, the prototype. And then the only thing difference between the prototype and that is you'd have to just put a semicolon, and you don't have to name the variable, but you could name the variable and just move it up there. Yeah, it would work. It would work, yeah. Okay, we got int factorial int n. It returns n. How would you guys do this?
I would declare, another number like int, whatever you want to call it. Int num.
What do you want that variable to do?
I want to say int num equals n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n.
Is there, so you don't know how many times you need to write the n, right? Because that person can put in, this question says up to 12. It could be 12 times, it could be 11 times, it could be 10. What's a way you could do that no matter what, so it'll work universally for whatever number they put in?
You put a count starting from 1 and then until it reaches 10.
How do you do that in code? What do we use for counters usually? Yep.
For loop, so you say
So we can make a for loop. I'm kind of going to take off him. We're going to need a total one, right? We're going to need something to kind of accumulate all this stuff, right? So we're going to do a declaration in total, and then we're going to need an I for our for loop, right? So we got for I. What do you want I to start as?
1,
Why wouldn't it be 0?
because that's not factorial.
Yeah, so it'll be 0 and it'll just kill your whole factorial. So we're going to start it at 1, and then what's going to be your condition?
So I is less than, no, I is less than or equal to n.
Perfect, perfect. I is less than or equal to n. That'll include the n into your last multiplication, right? And then we're just going to plus it. So then we're going to do, what is one thing I can change to make this like a one sentence thing really easy? So we want total to accumulate, right? How would you do it? Let's try to do it. So how would you get the factorial in the loop? How would you calculate the factorial in the loop? Like to just do one line of code, and then it would loop, and then times 1, times 2, times 3.
Don't we also have to put total equals like 0 first?
Yeah, that was what I was looking for. But you wouldn't do 0 just like your loop, because the factorial, if you're going to use total to do your equations, then yeah, you're going to use 1. So then this one, you just change that to equals 1, right? So then we got for I less than n total. So then what you could do is what we were doing before, times equals n, right? And that would do, the first one would be 1 times 1, not n, I'm sorry, I. So the first one would be 1 times 1, I would go up, then it would be 1 times 2, 2 in total, and that would work. Then what we have here, what's our last thing that we have to do?
Okay, I think we're good.
It would do that in the for loop, right? I'm saying like that's good. We're all good with that. All good with the calculation of the factorial. What's one last thing?
To return it.
Yep. And what would you return?
After like, you get out of the part, you just return total.
Yep, you would return total. And then this is a value returning function. So just if you were using this in main, how would you actually use it?
You would have to put like another variable equals factorial.
And then whatever number you want, right? That's perfect. Yep. So this is value returning, right? Because it has the int. So in main, you would have to call it, you'd have to have another one, say like you had int fact, right? Then it would have to be fact equals factorial. And then say we did the factorial of 10, that would do the factorial of 10, right? Does everyone get that? Any confusions with functions at all? No?
10 would be the value of n, correct?
Yeah, so, right? If we quickly just trace this function, right, we have 10, so that would be 10 right there, so it would be total equals 1, I, as long as it's less than or equal to 10, do it. So we would do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 times. Let's constantly do it. I don't know what 10 factorial is, but it would just return that.
If we're doing that like in main,
Uh-huh.
we put 10, or like let's say n is already kind of like number.
If it's a variable, you can pass it a variable,
You can just put like factorial, right?
as long as it's the right type.
Okay.
So if we're scanfing for like,
You can just put the number too.
yeah, you could put the number if you want it directly, but if she has on the test, like someone puts in 7 or whatever, something like that, or someone you ask them for the input in my variable, you're going to put my variable right there.
How would you write the prototype for that function?
For this one,
Yes.
so this one, I'm going to do it over here. Prototypes is when so the way you don't have to write a prototype is if you put that whole function definition, this whole thing, if we put it above main is when you don't have to put a prototype. If you do, you put it below main. Most people just put it below main and just kind of do a prototype. It's a little nicer that way because that way you can see, hey, main, and then it's jumping around all these functions at the bottom.
She's gonna ask us like to define a function, write the like step by step. So write a prototype, write, call the function main, and then write the function.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So this one would be, so right up here we have int factorial int n, right? So it would just be the same thing, int name of your function, same name, same return type, and then it would be int, and then just add a semicolon. That's really the only difference is the semicolon. Int, you can write int, or if you just kind of lazy, you could really just copy this one right here and then just leave the n in it. That doesn't matter to you.
If your you can also say int n.
Yeah, you can leave the variable name in there. It doesn't matter for the prototype.
You gotta put like the type.
Yeah, you just have to put the type, yeah.
And what if the argument that you're trying to pass the parameter is like a pointer or an array? How would you write?
The prototype for it?
Yeah.
It would be the same thing. So say we had like an int, I don't know, func, right? Say we had a character pointer. It would just be the same thing as whatever it's basically whatever is your function header, which is whatever you start the function off with. You're gonna put the same exact thing and just add a semicolon. That's what I would say the easiest way. I wouldn't worry about taking out the n or anything like that. As long as you just put the same exact thing, same exact spelling, and add a semicolon, it would be correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Now I just have like little refreshers on opening files. So it says write the code to declare a file pointer IFP and open the file named data.txt in read mode and declare a file pointer OFP and open the file myText file in write mode. How would you, let's just do this first one. Declare a file pointer IFP and open the file named data.txt in read mode. How would you do that?
File asterisk.
And then I put IFP.
IFP.
Yep. And then what would you do after that?
Then you'd say IFP equals
Okay. You want to do it this way?
open parentheses in quotation marks the name of the file
Which is data.txt, right?
close
Yep. Read would be R, write would be W. If you want to save space, you can just do this F open on this line. So you don't have to put this, you just put file star IFP equals and then this whole F open. If you just,
Oh, you can say that? File
Yeah.
star IFP equals
Yep.
F open little.
mhm.
Okay.
Just like when we do like int I equals 3 and then just end it and start off. You could do that.
Template, like, way,
So then I'll do that one for for the other one. What's the only difference in the other one really?
You're using, I mean, after you do whatever you want to do with the read, you want to print it, you do the same, but you change it to W.
Yep, pretty much. This one is a different file too, but that's fine. W. See, that's the way you could do it. Just like that, file, whatever the file name is, whatever the file pointer name is, then F open file name, and then whatever type it is.
And also, could we kind of declare both files at the same time?
You're saying like file OP,
Yeah, file IFP and then comma.
so that way you could do it. I'm not quite sure if you could do it if you're doing it this way, if you could do them both at the same time, but if you're doing it this way, you could just not have this semicolon and put comma OFP, but I'm pretty sure it has to be a star in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
And then just put it like down, OFP equals F open.
yeah, you just do it like this bottom one right here, like that one,
Okay, yeah.
and you just be OFP.
Wait,
He's saying he wants to declare them both in the same line. I'm not quite sure about the F open, if you could do that in the same line.
Yeah, I don't think you can do the F
Yeah, because that one needs a semicolon at the end, because it's a function that does this. But you can declare them both in the same line like this, file star IFP, comma star OFP, if you want to do that. If you like doing it this way, then you could just have one little declare statement, and then both of them have their own F opens. If you like them this way, you can just do them both. So.
Two file asterisk IFP and then file asterisk OFP, right?
Yeah, because this would just make it a regular file. You need a file pointer.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So next question is kind of following off of this, using the same stuff.
Can you have the second stage?
Which one?
Okay, cool.
Using the in-file pointer you just created, read one float from into, read one float into a variable named a number. Read one float. So the in-file pointer, we want to read in from a file, so what will we use? Which function? Yep, because we're reading in from files, we're just going to use scanf, but just put the F in front of it, fscanf. So file scanf. If you call them in file and if you call them in file and out file, it's kind of easy.
It's called if, what?
In file. I declared it as IFP, just kind of short. Yeah, in the previous one. So yeah, it would be IFP. Teachers just call them like in file pointers and out file, so that's the easiest way to do it. IFP. You could just name it in file if I've seen teachers use. That's the quickest way, I think. And to know the difference between them is the I and O.
And you have to put that pointer, right?
This one, no, you don't. You don't have to put the star. That was just me messing up. And then we're going to have, just like we usually do, right? Double quotes. What kind of variable are we reading in? F for float. And the quote. Then what's next? Yep. And you still need the ampersand for any type except a string when you're reading from a file. And using the out file you just created, print the variable number to my text file. So that one you would use the opposite function, right? Printf. And then OFP, because that's the file that we're writing to. And then same thing, we're just going to write one number to this. And then no ampersand because it is printf, and just output that. And that's the correct one for that.
The decimal points in the print, but you can't put in the scan.
What did you say? I'm sorry?
The decimal points like 0.2f, you can only put that in print, right? You can't put that in scan.
I know what you're saying. I think so. There's no point in like restricting how much you're scanning for. You know what I mean?
I don't think even more. I'm just making sure like.
Like the point two basically means in printf, it means if you have 3.1427, right? If you use it in printf and you say you have point two, it's only going to do 3.14. So if you're scanning for that, you're not going to want to restrict how many they have. You kind of want the most accurate data. How would you guys close both the files?
That's close.
Just the name of it, right? No pointer, no nothing, just IFP is fine. And then OFP. Okay. So these are something we learned a little recently, just to kind of test if you want to use them or if she uses them. String.h functions, you can only use them if you have the include string.h. Does anyone know what string cat is?
Is it like put a string inside another string? It just adds it to it, I think.
Yeah, correct. It adds it. It's called concatenation. So what it's going to do, this is the function prototype, which just shows you what it does. It takes two strings, right, and then it will add the second string onto the first string, and then it will return that string back. So that's what all these pointers are for. That's just showing you if you want to use this, you're going to have to give it two strings, and then it's going to give you that string back. So if we have strings, say, hello, and then class, S1, and then S2, right? After we do, say we did this, right, we just have it like this, string cat. Right, that's how we would use it, and then S1 would then turn into hello, and then it depends. If you don't have a space after hello, it'll just put it right after, right? So just be like,
Print the string cat.
how would you print it?
Yeah.
So what string cat does is adds 2 to 1, so you just print out 1. So 1 now says, say if that's what I ran, right, and I had hello in class, string 1 now is hello class, so you just print out string 1.
Oh, so you would just put like printf.
Yeah.
A string thing. and
Yeah,
then
string
this
1. Yeah. Because that just totally overwrites it. So if I had hello in class, this one would now be hello class, and then the other one would stay class.
Yeah,
That-
you're gonna post this on your website.
Yeah, I'll post the answers.
Okay.
The way you can kind of tell is the second one says const, which means constant, so S2 doesn't change when S2 is going to change. Okay, the next one is, anyone know what the next one is? String compare, yep.
It compares two strings.
Keep it the same.
Yeah, and then
Do you guys know how it compares them?
it prints about 1, 0, or -1, right?
That's correct.
Zeros are the same, negative one is less than the other.
How does it determine what's less than the other?
If the second one is less than the first one, like the first letter, the first character.
Like,
Isn't it?
what'd you say, I'm sorry? Not by string length, it's by ASCII value. So the capitals are higher than the lowercase, so if you have anything with a capital, that's going to come before the lowercase. So you have dad and then bed, lowercase, dad's going to come first. Even though it's B, it's still going to come first. So it's comparing on ASCII values. And then, like you guys said, it's going to return an int. And it needs two strings.
We have like a word, and then a word that has like the same word but just an extra letter from the end.
If it has an extra letter, I think the one that's shorter comes first.
So they check this length too.
It's just like saying, like bed becomes before like bedding, just because there's nothing there. Like,
Okay, so chasing and there's nothing, you just go.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So then this one is if it's equal, if they're both the same word, you're going to get 0. If the first string S1 is greater than S2, you're going to get a negative. And then if S1, is less than S2, you're going to get a positive. So then if it's greater, that's going to be, say if S1 is a lowercase a and S2 is a uppercase a. So S1 would be greater because it's, did I say that right? If S1 is lowercase and S2 is an uppercase, then it's going to be negative. If S1 is a lowercase and S2 is an uppercase, then it's going to be positive. String copy. Anyone know what that does?
It copies out of a string into another string.
And why do you need it?
Because that's the only, I think that's the only way you can populate a string that other, like when you're not reading from a file.
It's not the only way you can populate a string, it's the only way you can set another string equal to another one. You can't just write string 1 equals string 2.
Exactly.
You gotta use string copy. So that one just copies S2 into S1. It does return an integer, but you do not have to put anything for it. You can run it. All these ones that return in, except for string length, you don't have to make it return a value because it's just kind of a debugging value. For string copy, it's the first string's memory address, I think.
Can you explain again what the string copy does though?
So say we have, I'm just writing this, cons, it's 2, right? Say we have S1 is John and S2 is Sally, right? So that one's gonna copy S2 into S1. You're gonna have the call just like this, string copy S1, S2. Right, that would be your function call, right? That's what we have so far in the strings. Then it would just copy S2 into John, so basically erase John and then put Sally.
And then S2 just stays the same.
Yeah, S2 stays the same. That's why, again, it has the cons. That just means cons. It returns, I was reading about that in the textbook, it returns the memory address of the first one, which is the one you changed. I guess it's just for debugging purposes, but you don't have to make it equal to anything. That's how you would call it in main.
Okay.
So they're a little bit weird.
So with S2 equals S1, they're both equal to John.
If what? What'd you say? I'm sorry?
SCR copy S2, S1, flip it, and both equal John.
Yeah, they're both equal John, yep. So it's basically the second parameter, put it to the first parameter. Okay, string length. This one's an easy one. What's string length?
Just finds the length of the string.
Does it count the null character? Yes?
Isn't it, oh, it reaches it, so it
Yeah, until it reaches, yep. So it'll count anything. So say we had John, it'd only count the 4 letters. So you won't get a wrong count.
But you still need to at least have 5 in different environment, right?
At least 5 what?
Because you need to include the factory in the time, right?
Yeah, say if you had John, you had to have 5 spaces in your array. Yep.
Or but then you include 20, but as long as
Yeah. As long as, yeah, it's enough to include what you want to say and a null character.
So if it's like, for example, like a random number, like it's 13, so it has to, so you can put a max of string of 12.
Yeah.
Right.
hmm That's just like the one on your test. Do you have that thing? What was the question for that one? This one said you have an array of strings stored in a 7 by 13 2D array of chars. What is the max length of each string? It would be 12 because 7 is the rows, 13 is the columns. It depends on columns for strings, and then you have to have the null terminator, so it has to be 12. That was one of the ones on your
Or
Wait, can you explain that again real quick?
Sample quiz. So this one, do you mind if I write on this?
No, no, okay.
So this one says, an array of strings is stored in a 2x13 2D array of chars. What is the maximum length of each string? So we're going to have 7 rows, right, that are all going to have 13 spaces, right? 13 by 12 2D array of chars. Yeah. So 13 spaces. So this is her actually telling you if, I was thinking about it, if she declared, this is her telling you how much. If she declared this, it would be 8 by 14, right? Because it would be, right? 0 to 7. This is not like the indexes or anything like that. This is just saying 7 by 13. So it has 13 columns, which are the ones left to right. So that means it's going to have 13 rows, right? And then you need to have a null terminator, which is minuses 1 off the column, so it would be 12.
That's the null character, right?
Yeah, yeah. That would minus 1 off the columns that you can actually put stuff in,
Okay.
because you need that one. I think I have one big problem, but I assumed you guys would learn something while I was making this, and you guys did not. Does anyone have a problem from her or anything that you want to go over?
Struct.
Do you have a specific problem? Is there a problem on that sheet?
I don't really have a
What's the problem with not the same paper for one?
The Friday? The one with the set distance and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's part of the same questions, right? The C, the struct, and then all related.
Do you want me to just go over this question that you did in class and explain it over?
Yeah, please.
Yeah? Okay, I think I have my sheet, so I'm just going to get mine real quick. So this is from Friday's review. I don't think this is posted online. I think this was like if you show up to class, you got a free review sheet, an extra one. So,
Is this the review that she gave on Friday?
yeah, this is the one she gave on Friday with the struct.
Okay.
Okay. So this one says, a text file contains information about different branches of a bank. Each branch has a name, not longer than 15 characters with no spaces. The location which is given is a pair of integers representing x and y coordinates, a float indicating distance of that branch from the main branch of the bank, which is at the origin 0, 0. So we want to write a C code to define the branch struct. So to start off a struct, the keyword is struct. Then you name, she wants the branch struct, so I would just name it branch. Right? Then you open up your curlies. She wants, each branch has a name not longer than 15 characters with no spaces. So that's going to be a string. A string is a character array, right? So name not longer than 15, so I'm going to do 15. Then we have a location which is given as a pair of integers representing x and y coordinates. They're integers, so I'm going to do int x coordinate, int y coordinate. And then we have a float indicating distance, so I'm going to do float distance. And then I close my parentheses. This is going to come, say if you're writing a full program, this is going to come before your main. So it's going to be include standard io.h, this, then your main. Okay, the input file branches.txt begins with a single integer on the first line indicating the number of branches. The next line indicates the next n lines contains information for each branch. The information is a string followed by 2 integers. Name, x coordinate, write a function, initialize array that takes a file pointer, an array of branch structs, and the number of branches as input. Your function has to initialize everything except the full distance. So she wants us to write a function, initialize array. She doesn't say any return type, so we're just going to assume it's void. It doesn't return anything. And that's going to be initialize array. Then she says for the parameters, it's going to be a file pointer, which I'm just going to do IFP because we're reading from it. An array of branch structs. So structs, they take both of these. So whenever you declare struct, the type is struct, whatever you name it. So this one's called struct branch in this one, so it's going to be struct branch. So it's going to be struct branch, and then it takes an array of branch structs, so just let's name it branches. And then we have to have our square brackets, right, because that's an array. Okay, comma, I'm going to continue it down here. Number int n, right? So then what would you do if that was your prototype? She basically gives you the function header. If that was your prototype, what would you do?
You would use the void initialize array, then file with the pointer.
You could just basically put the whole thing, right, and then add a semicolon, right?
True.
So this is the function header, so there's no semicolon on this one. So go to next. So we already have, since we have n, the number of branches, she already scanned for that, right? Because it says with a single integer n on the first line indicating the number of branches. So we already got the first line. The next n lines contains information for a single branch. So then here. I don't have that much time left. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down, so I'm just going to show you and go through it. Yeah, you could do a for loop. Because what a struct is, yep, what a struct is just a container, basically. It holds all your different values in one person. So like you're a person, you have a phone number, a first name, a last name. That's all attached to you, right? So that has all the branches information in one, and you could just pass a branch and it'll have all that specific branches information. So what you do down here, just void initialize, that's our header. We're just gonna declare I, use it in our for loop, number of branches, same thing, I used n on the other page. Just scanf each time. To access a struct variable, you're just going to use the dot operator. So you do branches. It is an array of them. So with your for loop, you have to use your I and use your square brackets for the array, dot name. That would access the name. Then the next one, I just did it in 2 lines. You have to use the ampersand because they're integers and not strings. The first one was a string, so you didn't have to use a ampersand. And I got the x coordinate, got the y coordinate. She has another function that calculates the distance, so I just set the distance equal to 0 for now.
You said that you also couldn't, we don't want you to have to put the distance, right?
Yeah, you didn't have to. That's just making sure everything is like good to go. Yeah, that you won't get any problems if you try to do anything with distance. Okay, and then I'll quickly write set distance because mine is kind of sloppy. So it doesn't tell you what type, so it's going to be a void. Set distance is the name that she gives you. She wants you to take one struct branch, so that means you're just going to pass a pointer because it's an array of them. If you pass a pointer, that just means, hey, you pass the address of one of them. So you're just going to give one of them. She just wants you to do it basically one at a time. Whenever you know, hey, I want to calculate the distance for this one, then you put it in there. So then this one is going to be int a and then b, because just for distance, you're going to use Pythagorean's theorem. That's going to be a equals b pointer x chord times b pointer y chord b is going to be b pointer y chord times b pointer. Oh, I messed up here. This is just both x's, right? X squared and then y squared. And then it would be, she said assume you have a square root function, so you could just do b pointer distance equals square root ab. And she said the square root function just gets the square root of the sum of the two numbers that are passed to it. So you're passing.
But is there a square root function for just one signal passed through? Can you just put a and say that you want a square root of, let's say?
I think there is. She just said this one's one she made up. There is one in the math library, a square root function. I think it's just you pass it one number, but I'm not quite sure. I think it's actually you pass a number and then the like, say you want to do a cube root, you do whatever number you want to root it by.
Okay.
But she said, hey, she said assume I have a function like this with the sum. So then you just use that. Does everyone get why these are here?
Because you're pointing to a pointer.
Yeah. So first,
I know I asked specifically to use a pointer, but I find trouble sometimes when to use a pointer and when not to use a pointer. I probably don't have time to explain that.
so this is, it tells you when to use a pointer, right? It says takes a branch struct pointer.
I know this specifically.
So that one you're going to do. To access that, it's a struct first of all, so you have to use the dot to access anything in a struct, right? But if it's a struct pointer, this is basically a dot and a dereference at the same time. When you like go into pointers, you could think of them.
I remember that she explained that.
You could think of them like this. So this one would be BT part and then point and then whatever, right? That just makes it one character. And then if you ever, I don't know if you guys had an assignment with it, it would just be like the dash and then the greater than sign. That's what it is on the computer. But you could just write an arrow in your test and stuff like that.
The extra credit for one was structs, but it was just a regular, they had to do pointers.
So then that would allow you access into that pointer, times both coordinates, and then the square root would add them and get the square root and then set it equal to distance.
Just a quick question, on number 6 on the same page that it talks about like, the ASCII values, I figured it out by putting it into the program, but how would you figure that out without having to plug it in?
One sec. Did you have anything on this question?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Did you still have to print the last one? B pointer to distance equals square root AB? Because
Yeah, because this one is setting, it's actually making distance the value that we calculated. Because distance is in the whole, in the container of the struct, basically.
you said distance equals to square root AB, wouldn't that just put it, distance is,
This one, like if I just did this,
yeah.
that would make it, I would need a variable distance and that would be just a random, a local variable in the function. It doesn't, the computer doesn't know that we're like using a struct and passing it. That's why we have to use the B pointer and then the arrow sign. So then this one would be B pointer. Okay, you said number 6, right? Okay. She said the ASCII value of character A is 65 and A is 97. So A is 65 and then A is 97, right? The ASCII value for character 1 is 49. And then 1 is, right? It's a little weird to write number on number, but whatever. What with filing code print. So then she gives you all the starting variable, the ASCII values. And then, so the first one is lowercase t. So basically, I mean, most people in intro don't have it memorized yet. So then B would be what ASCII value after? 98. So you just have to kind of count up. You could also just do it on your hand, say A, B, like find the distance and then add it. If you're worried about that, I would just write it right on the paper. Just be B, C, D, E, F, G.
But this given thing, T was, capital T was 84 and 116.
84 and 116?
Yeah.
So then, what is it? What is T? Well, and then what was? Oh yeah, 2 is 50. Yeah, yeah. What is A to T? What's the difference between A to T? Is it 19? Yeah. So you could just plus that. If you count the distance, as I'm saying, that's another easy way. Yeah, 65 plus the 19, you can get the 84. But if you want to write it out, if you're not comfortable with that, say you miscount or something like that.
And then what about 2?
So the 2 would be 1 is 49, right? She tells you character 1 is 49. So 2 would be 1 up, it would be 50. So then in this thing, it would be what? Lowercase t is, what'd you say, 116? 116 minus 84 minus 7 plus 50. So then it would be what? Be 116 minus 84. What would that be? That would be, this would be what? 57. What's 84 minus 116? That's 6. 16. 16 plus 16 was it 32, right? Oop. 32 minus 7, which would then be 2, 5, 25, would be 75, right? And then what's the following code will print? It's the conversion character, the printing format is a character. So you're just going to need the 75th character, which would be a uppercase because it's between 65 and 84. And then if you just written down, what is that, 9? No, 10. So it'll be J, right? Or something like that? Okay, I'm sorry, one off. Yeah, so it'll be K. That's why I like to write them down. If I'm doing something like this, I just like to write them down. Like, I'll just miscount or something. So that would be that one. This is kind of a string function. Any other questions on there that anyone's confused with?
Do you mind saying the answer for 7 to 10?
7.
So I know
Which of the following will return a greater than 0? So string copy, string compare. So what do we have? It's greater than 0 is what? I think greater than 0. If it's positive, the other one is greater than that. So string compare compares 2 strings. If S2 is greater than S1. So S1 is, oh no, we're doing this one, right? S1 is hello. S2 equals world. Greater than 0. So if S1 is greater, it's a negative. So you want to know if S1 is less than that. So it should be D. Did you get D? Yeah. Because string cat is going to return a char. String copy return an integer. I don't think she really cares about that though, because when we call it, we don't call an integer or anything like that. Like we don't want the integer back, so I don't think she wants you to like think of that. So I would just kind of ignore that. String cat just gives you the first one, so that wouldn't give you an integer, and then the string compares these two, A and D. Hello is less than world, yeah. So then you want, if it's less than, it's negative. So you want greater than, so you do world before hello. You want that one. The next one is given.
Whenever the first string has a greater ASCII value than the second one, that's a positive integer, it's a positive 1.
Whenever the first string has a, when
Greater ASCII value.
when S1 is greater than S2, it's negative. Just flipped it.
Well, you said when S1 is greater than...
Yeah, it's negative.
It's greater? Or
When S1 has a greater is greater than S2 is negative.
So then,
So world, like it's by H comes before, right?
oh,
W. So you want it when it's positive. When S1 is less than, so H comes, right? H comes before W, so that means H is less than W, right? So that would be positive. So that's the one you want.
I'm so confused right now. So H comes first and W, so it has a
Just-
less.
Just like that ASCII we were doing, like say A becomes before T, right? So if we did a string compare on, say S1 was A and T, that would be positive because A is 65 and that's less than the 84. It's a little, it's tricky. I wouldn't spend all night trying to study it or something. It just probably, it might be one question. If you're having trouble with a question like that, I would just say skip it, come back to it. If you don't get it.
But then S1 is being
Anything?
greater than, S1 would be greater than S2 in this case.
S1 would be greater.
I mean, option D.
Would be world, hello.
That would
S1.
return a -1.
This one would be world, hello. S1 would be world. Oh, I did the wrong one, I'm sorry. I wrote S1 up here, but they flipped them. So this one, so the first one, it was hello world, right? And that was S1, S2. So then this one was, S1 was world. S2 was hello. So she flipped them on you.
So W is.
So it would be,
It would be positive, so it wouldn't be A, right?
yeah. If S1 is less than, yeah, it would be A, I think. Let me see. Gosh. If S1 is less than that, yeah, so S1 is hello and it's less than that, it would be positive. This one would be negative because S1 is greater than. So it would be A, I'm sorry.
Alright, that's fine. Thanks.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Given the string happy and the string day, which the following would result in being day day. So that one, you just want to override string 1, right? How would you do that?
Because if it's S1 is half, okay, yeah, so you want S1, you want S2 equal S1, so that would be,
So we have, right?
oh, actually, not, that would be,
String 1 is happy, right? String 2 is day. There's two ways you could do it. You could do it by making day day, right? And then overriding happy. Or you can make it day and then string catting another day on it from string 2, right? So the first one we have string copy, string compare. No, we don't want string compare, so A is out. We got string copy and then string cat. This one copies 2 into 1, so that'll be day. So B should work. String copy, no, we don't just want to copy it. String cat, copy string 1 into string 2. That would make day happy, so that one would be wrong. You guys get that one?
Is it B?
Yeah, it's B.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
You see option D?
D?
She seems to be missing a parentheses. Is that on purpose or is it just, like her?
I don't think that's on purpose. That's probably just her just quickly making you guys a review sheet.
So if option D was the correct one, like if option D said string cat str 2 string copy str 1 str 2. You see, if it was like flipped, so
I mean,
correct.
you're saying if B was like a wrong answer? If I would say, if that's the only right answer and they're just missing a parentheses or something, I would pick it.
Okay.
Because it's probably just a typo. But you can also ask the professor, hey, is this a typo?
Well, true. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, the next one, which is correct syntax, returning a prototype of function A, returns a float, takes 3 parameters, integer pointer, a 1D array, and a 2D array. So we got float, anything that's not a float, no. D is out because it has to have arrays, right? A is
It's just
You
very
want-
bad at it, like, when you have,
yeah, you need at least one of the 2D arrays to have a starting point. So that one has columns. This one has rows. What's the difference between these? So these two, right? They're basically the same thing but swapped. This one says columns. This one says rows, but this one has an extra comma. So this one's wrong.
So then we do that.
So B would be the answer. Yeah.
And it's the answer because when you're declaring something like that, you have to put either one or the other, or to the array.
Yeah, you have to give it like a starting point.
oh, I thought it was always a second, like the second brackets that had to have a value, but
No, I'm pretty sure you could do either one. This one just has that comma right there.
gotcha.
Let's see. So that one I said B, right? We got file pointer. Which of the following is the correct syntax for reading a string from a file and storing a variable S declared as a char array? So we need to use fscanf, right? The first one is wrong. Why is the first one wrong? It doesn't have a. What'd you say?
The scan is
Oh yeah, that's true. And it doesn't even have a file pointer.
Exactly.
The second one, fscanf file pointer, and S. This one. Declared as a char array. So correct syntax for in a variable S declared as a char array. So S is a character array, which is anything. For this one, I would put C. I'm pretty sure if you have the scan, it scans for a new line and it'll mess everything up. It'll like give you a new line because it's in that scan. This one has like a new line that it's scanning for, so that's messing it up. This one is saying a char array. A string is a char array, and when we scan for a string, we just need everything. So I would put that one. We've never done that in class, so I don't think that one's correct.
I don't know why I put none of the above, but now I can see what it's C. Can you explain why is it not D though?
Yeah, I thought it was the for me.
For D, this is the starting address for the S, and when you have, it's a char array. I don't think you're allowed to do this. Like I don't know how to put it. Like it has to have a number or like a starting. It doesn't know. It's gonna say like where are you trying to go, and then this one means S0, so it knows where it's trying to start at. This one is like, are you trying to go somewhere? Like what are you trying to do?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If it was S1 or like S.
Yeah, yeah. If it was S something, then it could maybe start from there and figure it out. You might get an error because it's longer than it, but that's fine.
And it also wouldn't work because you don't have a second percent sign to. Wait, actually no.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm reading it wrong. My bad. I'm reading it wrong. I'll figure that out.
Was there anything weird about the fill in the codes that you guys want? We got like 10 more minutes left. If you guys have anything.
And where do you have this, like the packet you had before posted?
Mine.
Yeah.
That's up. Do you guys? Is it easier to get to my site or the study union site?
That's the thing. I haven't used the study union site. That's what I'm curious.
For me, for us right now, we printed it over to your site and to the student union, and then it said on top, computer science.
Yeah, yeah.
What am I looking for?
I'll just post it on my site because on modules she has my schedule, and then if you click on my schedule, my site's right there. So you can just click on that.
Okay.
Sorry, was that what you were just talking about posting videos?
The videos are streaming on YouTube, so like it's live right now. It'll be like automatically uploaded in probably like a couple, like 20 minutes or something. Yeah.
YouTube page?
Just Sark. Just type in Sark. Yeah.
Go to YouTube at Start Study.
Okay.
Start Study.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
I think. Practice a lot.
No.